How did he hide in plain sight for 13 years? A serial killer, living in a quiet suburb, married, 2 children, architect with his own firm, paying taxes, going to work, living normally, while bodies piled up on a beach. Gilgo Beach, Long Island, New York. 10 victims, maybe more. Women, dumped in the marsh, wrapped in burlap, left to decay. For over a decade, police had nothing. No suspect, no DNA, no leads. Then, July 2023, an arrest that shocked New York. Rex Heuermann, 59 years old, 6'6", 300 pounds, living in Massapequa Park, just miles from where he dumped the bodies. His house? A horror show, filled with weapons, torture devices, evidence. His internet history? Depraved. Searches for child porn, torture, murder, plans for his next victim. His family had no idea. They thought he was just dad. But investigators now believe Rex Heuermann is one of America's most prolific serial killers, responsible for at least 11 murders, possibly more, and he almost got away with it. Today, we investigate how. The bodies found on Gilgo Beach, the 13-year manhunt, the shocking arrest, and the evidence that finally caught him. Because this isn't just about one killer. This is about how a monster can hide, right in front of everyone, for 13 years. Welcome back to the Hidden World. December 11th, 2010. A police officer, K-9 unit, searching for a missing woman, Shannon Gilbert, 24 years old. Last seen in Oak Beach, Long Island. The officer and his dog, walking along Ocean Parkway, near Gilgo Beach, a desolate stretch of coastline, sand dunes, tall grass, brush. The dog alerts, the officer investigates, and finds a body, wrapped in burlap, partially decomposed. But it's not Shannon Gilbert, it's someone else. They keep searching. Within days, 3 more bodies, all within a quarter mile, all wrapped in burlap, all women. 4 victims discovered, and Shannon Gilbert still missing. Police realized they had a serial killer. The victims were identified. Melissa Barthelemy, 24, disappeared July 2009, last seen in Manhattan. Sex worker Megan Waterman, 22, disappeared June 2010, last seen in Hauppauge, Long Island. Sex worker Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25, disappeared July 2007, last seen in Manhattan. Sex worker Amber Lynn Costello, 27, disappeared September 2010, last seen in North Babylon, Long Island. Sex worker, all 4 women. Similar victimology, young, petite, sex workers, advertised on Craigslist. The killer called them, set up meetings, then murdered them, dumped their bodies in the same area. Police dubbed them the Gilgo Four, but the case got worse. In spring 2011, more searching, more bodies. 6 additional remains found. Some were complete bodies, others just bones, scattered. A woman and a toddler, an Asian male, another unidentified woman. 10 victims, in total, along a stretch of beach. The FBI got involved. This was a serial killer, operating for years. But who? Police had almost nothing. No witnesses, no physical evidence, just bodies in burlap, and one clue: phone calls. Before Melissa Barthelemy disappeared, someone called her younger sister. 7 different calls, taunting her, saying, "Do you know what I did to Melissa?" The calls were traced, made from burner phones. In Manhattan, Times Square, near Penn Station, busy areas, cameras everywhere. But the killer was smart, made calls, then ditched the phone. Police released this information, hoping someone recognized the voice. Nothing. Years passed. The case went cold. Shannon Gilbert's body, eventually found, December 2011, in the marsh, near where she was last seen. Cause of death, ruled accidental drowning. But the other 10 victims, murdered, and the killer, still out there, living, working, hunting. For 13 years, Why did it take 13 years? The Suffolk County Police Department was criticized heavily. Political corruption, mismanagement. The police chief at the time, James Burke, later arrested for beating a suspect, and conspiracy, sentenced to prison. The department was in chaos. The case, Saturday. Evidence, unexamined. Leads, ignored. Then, 2020, a new task force. Suffolk County brought in new leadership. Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, District Attorney Ray Tierney. They reopened everything. And they had new technology, DNA, genealogy databases, cell phone tracking, license plate readers. They started from scratch. First, the victims, all connected to Craigslist, all sex workers, all contacted by clients through disposable phones. The killer knew what he was doing. He used burner phones, prepaid, untraceable. He avoided cameras. He disposed of evidence. But investigators had something. Burner phone records. The killer called victims from different numbers, but there was a pattern. The calls, made from specific locations, Manhattan, Midtown, Long Island, certain areas, and the timing. Investigators noticed the calls made during work hours, weekdays, business hours. This meant the killer had a job in Manhattan or Long Island, flexible schedule, access to different locations. Then, the big break, DNA. In 2022, investigators re-examined evidence. A hair found on one of the burlap sacks wrapped around Megan Waterman's body. Male DNA, not the victim's. They tested it and uploaded it to genealogy databases. Genetic genealogy, the same method that caught the Golden State Killer. They found distant relatives, built a family tree, narrowed it down to one man, Rex Heuermann. Rex Andrew Heuermann, born 1963. 60 years old at the time of arrest. A lifelong Long Island resident. Grew up in Massapequa. Never left. He lived in the same house. His childhood home, Massapequa Park, First Avenue. A rundown, dilapidated, creepy house. Neighbors described it as a nightmare property. Overgrown, falling apart, junk everywhere. And inside, even worse. Heuermann lived there with his family, wife, Asa Ellerup, 2 children, now adults. Steps in. But what kind of man was Rex Heuermann? By all accounts, odd. 6'6", over 300 pounds, towering, imposing. Always wore rumpled clothing, looked unkempt, disheveled. But he was an architect, licensed, successful, ran his own firm, RH Consultants and Associates, Manhattan office, clients throughout New York. On the surface, normal, a working professional, family man. But look deeper. Heuermann was obsessed with serial killers, with violence, with torture. Investigators searched his internet history. What they found was horrifying. Thousands of searches. Why could law enforcement not trace the calls made by the Long Island serial killer? How to get away with murder, torture methods, child pornography, snuff films. He researched the Gilgo Beach case. Read every article. Followed the investigation. Watched as police failed to find him. He searched his own victims by name, looked at their obituaries, their memorial pages, and he planned searches for new victims. Specific women matching his type. Petite, brunette, sex workers. He researched how to avoid detection, how to dispose of bodies, how to cover his tracks. And for 13 years, it worked. Heuermann went to work daily. His Manhattan office, near Penn Station, the same area. He made calls from burner phones. He commuted through areas near where victims disappeared. And at night, he hunted. Police now believe the timeline His wife and children would leave, visit family, out of town. Asa often traveled with the kids, and when they were gone, Rex struck. Melissa Barthélemy disappeared. July 2009. Heuermann's family, out of town. Megan Waterman disappeared. June 2010. Family, out of town. Amber Costello disappeared. September 2010. Family, out of town. Every single time, he waited until he was alone, then contacted victims, arranged meetings, brought them to his house or a secondary location, murdered them, wrapped them in burlap, drove to Gilgo Beach, dumped them, and no one knew. His wife claims she had no idea. His children devastated. But investigators are skeptical. How could you not know? How could you live with a monster and see nothing? The house was a crime scene. Evidence everywhere. But Asa Ellerup says she never suspected. Police are still investigating her involvement. But one thing is clear. Rex Heuermann hid in plain sight for 13 years. July 13th, 2023. Rex Heuermann leaves his Manhattan office. Evening. Rush hour. He walks to his truck. Surveillance teams watching for weeks, months. They've been following him, building the case. They watched him go to work, drive home, live his life, all while knowing what he'd done. That night, they had enough. As Heuermann approaches his truck, Midtown Manhattan, street parking, dozens of officers swarm. Rex Heuermann, you're under arrest. He doesn't resist, doesn't run, just surrenders. Charged with 3 counts. First-degree murder. Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello. The Gilgo Four. -1. Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Investigators still building that case, but they believe he killed her too, and possibly the other 6 victims. The arrest made national headlines. Gilgo Beach killer finally caught. After 13 years, the evidence seemed overwhelming. DNA from the burlap sacks matched Heuermann's family, cell phone data, his phone near the victims when they disappeared, internet searches, thousands, showing premeditation, planning, and physical evidence at his house on First Avenue. Police executed a search warrant. What they found was a house of horrors. Weapons everywhere, guns, knives, restraints, a soundproof room. In the basement, possible human remains still being tested. Trophies from victims, his computer, hard drives filled with depravity, child pornography, torture videos, photos of women, possibly his victims. Neighbors were shocked. He seemed normal, quiet, kept to himself. We had no idea. But others said they always knew. That house was terrifying. He was creepy. Something was off. His family, Asa, the children, they filed for divorce immediately. Said they want nothing to do with him. But investigators are asking, did they really know nothing? Asa traveled frequently, always, when victims disappeared. Coincidence? Or planning? The children, adults now, lived in that house for years. Did they see nothing? Hear nothing? The investigation continues. Let's break down the evidence against Rex Heuermann. Evidence 1. DNA. Male hair found on burlap wrapping Megan Waterman. DNA analyzed. Genetic genealogy led to Heuermann to confirm. Investigators collected Heuermann's DNA from pizza crust he threw away in Manhattan. It matched. Also, female hair on another victim analyzed, matched. Asa Ellerup, Heuermann's wife. How did her hair get there? Secondary transfer? Or was she involved? Evidence 2. Cell phone data. Burner phones used to contact victims. Tracked to locations Heuermann frequented. His personal phone placed him near victims when they disappeared and near Gilgo Beach when bodies were dumped. Evidence 3. Vehicle. Witness descriptions. A large man driving a truck, green or tan, Chevrolet Avalanche. Heuermann owned a Chevrolet Avalanche, tan, license plate readers, captured his truck on Ocean Parkway multiple times near the dump site. Evidence 4. Internet searches. Prosecutors have thousands of searches. Gilgo Beach investigation. Why hasn't the Long Island serial killer been caught? How to dispose of a body. Torture techniques. Searches for his own victims by name and searches for new targets. Women matching his victim profile. Evidence 5. The house. 328 First Avenue, Massapequa Park. Search warrant executed. Evidence collected. Weapons, restraints, soundproof room, possible human remains. DNA still being tested. Evidence 6. Behavior and pattern. Every victim disappeared when Heuermann's family was out of town. Documented through family travel records, bank statements, credit cards. He waited for them to leave. Then he struck. Prosecutors believe this is overwhelming evidence, but Heuermann's defense? Public defender, initially assigned, then private attorneys. They argue the DNA is touch DNA, could be contamination, secondary transfer. His wife could have come in contact with the burlap at a store, work, anywhere. The cell phone data, circumstantial. He commuted for work. His phone would naturally ping in those areas. The internet searches. He's an architect in New York, interested in true crime. Doesn't prove he's the killer. The house? Circumstantial. Lots of people own weapons. They're fighting aggressively. Motions to suppress evidence. Challenge DNA methods. Question the investigation, but prosecutors are confident this isn't one piece of evidence. It's everything together. DNA, phone data, vehicle, internet searches, pattern, location, all pointing to Rex Heuermann. But the case doesn't end with the Gilgo Four. Investigators now believe Rex Heuermann killed more women. They're re-examining all 10 Gilgo Beach victims and other cases across Long Island and beyond. In January 2024, prosecutors charged Heuermann with a fourth murder. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, the remaining Gilgo Four victim, DNA linked him. And in June 2024, 3 more charges. Jessica Taylor disappeared. 2003, torso found. Manorville, other remains. Gilgo Beach, Valerie Mack disappeared. 2000, remains found. Manorville and Gilgo. Sandra Costilla, murdered. 1993, found. North Sea, Southampton. This victim, 31 years ago, means Heuermann may have been killing for decades. Since his 20s, police are now looking at hundreds of unsolved cases, cold cases, across New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Missing women, unsolved murders. Could Rex Heuermann be one of America's most prolific serial killers? Some investigators believe he could be responsible for 20 or more murders. The evidence keeps growing. Before we conclude, we must remember these women were not just victims. They were daughters, mothers, sisters, friends. Melissa Barthelemy, 24, from Buffalo, trying to make a life. In New York, loved by her family. Megan Waterman, 22, from Maine, a mother trying to support her daughter. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25, from Connecticut, talented, creative, missed deeply. Amber Costello, 27, from North Carolina, battling addiction, but loved fiercely. Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, Sandra Costilla, women with lives, dreams, families. They deserved better. They deserved protection, justice. For 13 years, they didn't get it. Their families suffered, not knowing, searching, hoping. Now, finally, answers. But the pain doesn't end. So, how did he hide in plain sight? For 13 years, Rex Heuermann, architect, family man, neighbor, living 10 minutes from where he dumped bodies. He was smart, used burner phones, avoided cameras, waited for his family to leave, disposed of evidence. But he also got lucky. A police department in chaos, an investigation mismanaged, technology not yet available. For 13 years, he killed, and no one stopped him. But in the end, science caught him. DNA, cell phone data, digital forensics, the same technologies he researched, trying to avoid, eventually found him. Rex Heuermann sits in jail, awaiting trial, charged with 7 murders, suspected in many more. The trial will be one of the biggest in New York history, and the families of the victims finally have answers. This has been The Hidden World. If this case opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe for more investigations. Comment below. Do you think there are more victims? The truth is still coming out, and justice is finally being served. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, because in the hidden world, monsters can hide right next door. For decades,